All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcia Ellison. I'm president of the NAACP Fort Lauderdale Broward branch, and we are here this evening to learn about candidates that are seeking to represent us in the Florida Senate. We are going to begin with a very interesting district here, and let me just say that Dr. Barbara Sharif was here. I can share with you that all candidates were invited to participate. I even went the extra mile in this case to make sure that Senator Book was in know that she was invited, since I did not get a response to my email. I did reach out on her personal cell, did not get an answer, and her voicemail was full. So I can't make people come and ask you for your vote. I can't make people respect our community enough to come and ask them or share their story. So we are working with those candidates that do care about the needs and want to hear from our community. And with that said, we are going to ask Minister Bridget Edwards, our Religious Affairs Chair, and she is also minister at New Hope Baptist Church, Sistrunk. Minister Edwards.
Thank you, Madam President. Let us go to the throne of grace. Eternal God and Father, we thank you for yet another day. God, now we ask that you would allow your spirit to be with us as we enter into this time of information sharing. God, we pray that you would strengthen us where we are weak, open our hearts and our minds, God, as we seek to understand that we might vote intelligently for the candidate of our choice. We ask all blessings in thy son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And I don't know, Judge. I think you and Jazz. Well, no, it's about even. I was gonna say y'all were outnumbered. I guess it's about even tonight. So far anyway. But we certainly want to thank our partners who have come on to participate as well. As you all know, that we know that there is power in unity, and so we certainly invite those who are like-minded and want to make sure that our communities are aware and educated on the candidates who are going to be representing us. And with that, I want to ask Ms. Edith Golden Thompson to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the chapter she's representing. Mrs. Golden Thompson.
Good evening, everybody. I am Edith Gooden Thompson, and I am a member of the Upsilon Xi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I will be representing them for this evening. I am retired from the school system as a principal at New River Middle School and have been involved in the community, I would say, for the last 30 years. And I'm happy to be here and to participate.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't know if what should I say? What is you are the unstoppable chapter? We were told of Upsilon Xi Omega, and
you got that right.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yes. We're this year we are celebrating our 25th year in Broward County. So you might say we are silver sorors.
I understand. Okay, I did not. I know that. I did not get the person who is going to be representing the premier chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Zeta. So I guess what we do, since we do have someone from that chapter that will be represented, I assume others will be joining lately, and so we will go from there. We want to start out. A lot of us. In new districts. Most of us are in new districts of some type. So let's meet the candidate who has chosen to honor us and honor our communities by coming in to ask us, tell us who she is, and ask for our vote. Dr. Barbara Sharif, if you will tell us a little bit about yourself. Pretend like you've never met me.
Okay.
And Judge Holmes. And tell us who Dr. Barbara Sharif is.
Bluetooth mode. So since I have I think you told me I have about 30 minutes, right?
You won't be spending 30 minutes talking about
No,
yourself, but yes,
because I could.
Doctor 30 minutes before Dr. Osgood is able to join.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So then I can give you a little bit of history about my family. But I think it's important right now in this time. So I'm Dr. Barbara Sharif. I'm born and raised right here in South Florida. I went to school in Miami, graduated from North Miami Senior High. And at that time, that was back in, I graduated in 1989, but in 1987, my father, who it was a clothes salesman in Miami, I have 8 siblings, and my mom is a retired elementary school English teacher. That's why I stopped after a period. That's my joke. See, I got an extra 2 seconds out of it. No, I'm joking. So anyway, my mom and my dad, we were raised in Miami. I was raised in a mosque, in a Muslim mosque called Masjid Al-Ansar, which is on 54th Street and 7th Avenue. And my dad believed in giving back. So we were a middle-class family. And we were working, and my dad and my mom was working, and then you know, they were trying to make sure that we got a good education. And I think that was the biggest thing that my parents kept instilling in me, was that education was really important. At the age of 14, my dad went to work on a Saturday morning with my 19-year-old sister. And he didn't come back home because a 15-year-old with a handgun that wasn't registered to him, that he shouldn't have had, tried to rob my father and shot him in his chest in front of my 19-year-old sister. That changed our life. That changed my life. So I ended up going from a life of comfort in the middle class and having a future that my father was going to pay for, because I was supposed to go to medical school. I was at the top of my class in North Miami Senior High. I had been in elementary school double promoted because I was so advanced. So I was 14 in my 11th grade year of high school. And when I lost my dad, that threw us into a world of financial difficulty. So we went from an upper middle class Black family living the American dream to struggle in poverty, foreclosure, you know, losing everything. When I tried to go to school, I didn't have enough money because, of course, we didn't have a breadwinner in our household anymore, which was my father. I had to work 3 jobs and put myself through nursing school. What I did was probably not doable today, because our children have so many obstacles that even if they did work 3 jobs, they probably couldn't get through school without taking out loans. So I came out of nursing school, I graduated, and I passed my RN boards the first time around. I graduated from Jackson Memorial Hospital School of Nursing, and I went straight into working so that I can continue to help my mother pay for my other 4 siblings, the boys that were behind me. So it's 4 girls, 3 girls before me, I'm the 4th girl, and then there's 4 boys behind me that are younger. My brother Omar had a severe disability. He had cerebral palsy and hydrocephalus, which I grew up with that my whole life. And I think that that kind of molded and shaped why I wanted to go into the medical profession, because back then when we were growing up in the 70s with those type of issues and you being Black, they told my mom every year, plan for a funeral, because he wasn't going to get any better, and technology wasn't what it was now. He had severe seizure disorder on top of that. So I grew up in a household where there was a child with medically complex issues. My dad and my mom just really kept pushing the fact that in order for us to get ahead, we had to get an education. So all of us were born and raised into the thought process of college. So when I went out, I got up my RN diploma. I got out of nursing school. I went straight into Jackson Memorial Hospital and I started working. I worked in various different departments, but I liked critical care and organ transplant. So that's where I landed. I worked in Jackson for 10 years. And I was moonlighting in home health because I wanted to buy a house. And so I can't stop working multiple jobs, you know. I think that was just in me. So I was working 2 jobs and I was going to school to get my bachelor's degree. I had started saving for a house, and somebody called me and said, hey, you know, you've done an incredible job in home health. Do you think you will be interested in working a temporary position at a home health agency in administration? I said, why not? I needed the money. I'm trying to get this house. So I went ahead and did it. And that's how I ended up in the home health industry. So I worked at interim healthcare to cover somebody's maternity leave for 3 months. And at the end of that job, they looked at me and said, we want to replace her with you. And I said, absolutely not. I believe in karma. So what I'll do is I'll train her to do what I'm doing right now, because I got a job and I would never want a pregnant mom to come back and be unemployed. And so I did that. And I just kind of went back to working at Jackson and doing my visits. And then I got a call from a headhunter who said they were looking for someone to run a multi-million-dollar company, a home healthcare company, and they heard I was good at it. They offered me a very good salary and I left Jackson. And I went out and started working in home care. 3 years later, ended up with my second child, but that job that I was working caused me to have to travel across the United States and train people on how to make unprofitable home healthcare agencies profitable. I took that bull by the horn and I did that for 3.5 years. When my second daughter was born, they made me go back to work like right away because she was in the intensive care unit and I was just sitting at home. So I went back to work, and I remember they put me on a plane right away to go to another agency to train somebody. And I had a Medela pumping style on my shoulder running through the airport. I was dragging a carry-on behind me and I got stopped by TSA. And they said, what is that? They thought it was a bomb. They searched me, opened up my bag, and I'm standing up there at the carousel and I'm thinking, my daughter is in the intensive care unit. I'm in an airport getting ready to go train somebody, and I'm going to be away for her for 2 or 3 days. And my mom has to kind of fill in, which she had always done for me. So I'm standing there and I just had this epiphany. I said, why am I doing this for somebody else when I could do it for myself? And I came back off that trip and I quit that job. I had a very nice savings account saved up and I had a 780 credit score. And I went out, I got a signature loan and I started my business. That business led to me expanding between Dade and Broward counties for home health care. And I ended up with 500 employees between Dade and Broward County. And that afforded me the opportunity to be home with my kids, but also the opportunity to give back to my community. And I feel so blessed to have had the opportunity to do that, because not a lot of people get to say, I quit a 6-figure job to make my own money and to make my own way, but I did. But I think that in the struggle that I had in building what I had and in the foundation that my parents gave me, it taught me that whenever you reach somewhere, you should always give something back. And so my neighbors kept saying to me, you know, you have a really big mouth. You always very vocal at the PTA meetings. You always advocating for us, and you should run for office. And I was like, me in politics? No. So me being in politics was kind of an accidental thing. But what happened as a result of that accident was that I was able to be elected to the city commission in Miramar, where I was vice mayor and city commissioner. I was able to be elected to the Broward County Commission, where I served as the first African-American female mayor of Broward County twice, only person to do that in the history of Broward County, where I was able to work with President Barack Obama on gun violence, President Bill Clinton on healthcare issues, and to work as the Florida Association of Counties president. I am the first and only African-American female president of the entire state of Florida Association of Counties in its 87-year history. And I've been in elected office for 13 years, which is twice that of my opponent. And, you know, I ran in this race because I saw an opportunity to continue to represent the people that I've been representing for 13 years. I live in District 35 for 21 years. I've been in this Senate district since I was in Pembroke Pines. I was in West Pembroke Pines and I was in this district. I moved from there when I had my third child to Miramar, been in Miramar now for almost 20 years, 18 years. And, you know, this is something that I'm aware of. I know everything, every issue in this district. I experienced the issues in this district. And this is a 66% minority district. And what that means is that because there's so much gerrymandering and messing with the maps on the state level and, you know, doing the things that they're doing to stop minority representation, we have been whittled down to no more than 5 seats in the state Senate. Currently, Dr. Osgood is the newest elected state senator. We're losing the other female senator because she's termed out. This is an opportunity to have more minority representation in Tallahassee. And it is not to say that other people can't represent. It is to say that we have been cut out, left behind, on the menu at every legislative session. And here, the Republicans couldn't deny us this seat. And now you have a minority woman with 13 years of experience who lived in the district for 21, running against a non-minority person who moving from Plantation to come down here in our district. And I say that to say this, I don't mind a challenge. I'm cool with that. That's not really the problem. The issue is if Democrats are out there saying that we need to fight for Black and brown access to representation, we need to fight for Black seats, why are you fighting me for this one? And so I'm going to say this, my experience as a mayor, a 2-time mayor, going through those hurricanes and natural disasters, being a doctor of nursing practice for 30 years. June 9th, I made 30 years in the healthcare profession. And I know that there's an access to healthcare issue. I know we have a quality of care issue. There are some things that I've been fighting for in Tallahassee that have to do with healthcare, and that's Medicaid, cost of drugs, and basically, and the fact that the managed care program for long-term care for seniors, probably 75% of the seniors out there don't know that they can qualify for a long-term care program to cover memory care facilities and ALFs and things like that, because they think they only have Medicare and Medicare doesn't cover that. And we've done a poor job at letting people know that they don't have to exhaust their savings, go bankrupt, or die in their homes because they don't have they have a lack of quality care. I want to go to Tallahassee to make sure that there is a voice, not just on healthcare, but on issues that affect our communities drastically. And one of the things in my platform, and I will stop and take questions in a minute, President Marcia Smith Ellison, I just want to make sure that I get all the points to make sure everybody knows who I am and why I'm here. I want to make sure that Black and brown people have equal access to quality education, because we know that education is the only way to break the poverty cycle, and I'm living proof of that, okay? I know that if we don't allow, and not everybody's going to college, you can go to trade school, you can go to an associate degree college program. You can go to a bachelor's program, but I think everybody should have an opportunity. I had an opportunity. I got an RN diploma, and I got out of RN school, and I went into Jackson, and I made $1,575 a week, and I thought I was rich. Oh my God, I thought I was rich until I got the bill for my apartment and all the other stuff, and I realized I was still broke. But I worked. I worked and got an associate. I worked and got a bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. And I did all of that by working, and I came out without loans. Kids nowadays don't have that opportunity. We're not properly funding public schools. My kids went to public school. I went to public school. We can do both. We can fund public and we can fund private, but don't take money from the public schools. Public schools, teachers' pensions, educations, for middle class working families has to be equal to everybody else's. And I find that there's a disparity, and people that are sitting up there in the Senate and in the House that aren't fighting back and aren't saying the things that they need to say and calling these people out. Let me tell you, if I was leading the Senate, they would hate my guts, but we would be winning some seats. And that's because every Republican up there or every person up there who voted against us, I would make sure we put somebody in the race and fund it with that Senate victory money. And I self-fund, and I've been blessed to do that because I want to make sure that my community knows I have skin in the game. I'm invested in this. And, a lot of candidates can't do that. So I would make sure we had a Democrat in every one of them races to run and make sure that we have a seat at the table every place, and that we try to take over the House and the Senate. That's what my job would be in Tallahassee. I've not been one of those people to hold my tongue on the county commission. I would never hold back because I'm not beholden to anyone. And I would put our needs first. And I just want to say, lastly, as I'm closing, we need to do a better job at allowing women entrepreneurs an opportunity to capital access. You know how hard I had to work after that first loan I got? I got so used to saying no that when people said yes to me, I was like, did you just say yes? I mean, why is it so hard? The SBA standards need to be changed. We got lenders here in Florida that gouge people on interest rates based on their ethnicity and their gender. We need to have somebody that can say, I went through that. I worked my way up from poverty and foreclosure and job loss and everything else that people are going through right this minute. I know how to fight. I know what it's like. My opponent doesn't know that. And that's what makes me different. And that's what makes me better as a representative. And, we can talk about money all day long and about privilege, but the bottom line is, if you haven't walked a day in my shoes, you don't know my story. You don't know how I got here. You don't know how to fix it. And, on any given day of the week, I'll sit across from anybody and defend my values and defend our values and defend our community's right to have representation. And I don't have to worry about my paycheck. I don't have to worry about my bank account because I went out there and I worked and I made something of myself. And I want every person in our community to have that opportunity. That's why I'm running for this seat.
Let me ask our partner here, Ms. Golden Thompson, a question. You're muted, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. I can appreciate your story, which is very compelling, and I do wish you all the best. However, there are a couple of questions that I have just so that those who live in your area and can vote for you do that.
Yeah.
And that is, I can see that your platform, as you laid it out, concerns expanding Medicaid and long-term care services and the cost and bringing down the cost of drugs and making the SBA process of lending more equitable for everyone. I can appreciate that. What else is on your platform?
So one of the things that's on there is common sense gun laws. You know, my dad got killed in 1987 and nothing has changed. As mayor of the county, a man came into our airport and carried a gun in our baggage claim area and shot people and killed them. And that can still happen today because TSA laws have not changed. The NRA controls a lot of the purse strings in Tallahassee. And I'm going up there to make sure that I effectuate change when it comes to gun laws. And I'm not taking no for an answer. You know, it's too many people dying right now. The other thing that I said is about education. I'm going to make sure that children in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools have equal educations as those in the private schools. And that's where most of our working families, the Black and Brown community, that's where most of the working families send their kids because they can't afford a private school. Got to make sure we have equal education. There's been some really disastrous bills that try to take away teachers' pensions. I think that's the most idiotic thing that anybody can put forth. Teachers are underpaid, overworked, and they're the most needed profession in our community. They have to be protected, and I'm going to make sure I do that.
Thank you. I do have one more question.
Go right ahead.
So what impact do you think you can anticipate making in the Florida Senate?
Well, the first thing is that
not in place now.
That's not in place now. I have made many allies across the aisle over these 13 years. And one of the things that I can do in the Florida Senate is exactly what I've done as a Florida Association of County president. You see, we have to come together to make issues and not D's and R's. You know, if I have an issue, I've always been able to get my issue passed and to get consensus on my issues because the issues that I bring affect Democrats, Republicans, they affect Black people, white people, brown people. And I've been very effective at doing that. From the time that I took on red light cameras and stopped red light cameras from patching into the Broward County infrastructure. You know, red light cameras are a regressive tax because only those with the lowest income pay them. And they are not a safety device. They are not something for safety because the cities and the people that put them up are making a ton of money and they only put them up at intersections where they're profitable. I fought the police and I fought the red light camera people, and that's why Broward County doesn't have that right now. I'm gonna make sure that when we bring an issue like healthcare, that it's not going to get stopped in a subcommittee because Democrats and Republicans need to have their medications paid for. The issues that I bring forth are issues. I worked through many of them. While Governor Scott was in office, I was the mayor of the county, and we got what we needed to get across. Particularly, one of the things that I worked on was water quality. I sat on the 16 County Coalition for Water Resources, and we were able to get some of our aging infrastructure replaced. We have about 68 projects that we need to do, we need to perform and pay for, and I want to make sure that that funding goes through. Those are not Democratic or Republican issues; those are everybody issues because everybody needs safe, quality drinking water. I worked on the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Transportation, which works with the Florida Department of Transportation. I did that for 13 years. And as mayor of the county, I introduced the transportation surtax, which now passed on our second time around. It is now $130 billion over a 30-year period that we're bringing down for infrastructure improvements to transportation. Those are the types of things that I can get passed and that I've proven that I can do with just being me and making an issue an issue. And I think right now we have too much divisiveness up there, and what I would be doing is working that way.
Thank you. And so Doug, tell us about this district. Is this a new district, so to speak? I know that the redistricting happened. Is there an incumbent?
No, there is no incumbent. This is an open seat. What happened as a result of redistricting every 10 years is that communities of like interests, Black, Brown, and other, are compacted together. And that's when they talk about compact districts, that's what they mean. They're trying to put people that voices can be heard in one area to get representation. And so as a result of the Hispanic and the Black population growth in the South County of Broward, Senate District 35 changed, and this district was open. Senator Chevron Jones moved down. He decided not to run in this district, so he's moved down to the Miami Gardens district, and this was the seat that allowed for minority access. There was 2 other seats that were available. That was one in the north that was a mixed race seat, and then one in the south that was a mixed race seat, but this one was 66% minority. And so this district changed because this district picked up now Davie, Cooper City, and all of Weston, where it didn't have all of that in there at the same time. And then it picked up Southwest Ranches, all of Pembroke Pines, 80% of Miramar, and then 12 precincts in Hollywood. And so, and 2 precincts in Sunrise. And so that's what the district looks like now. Yes, it sounds like it's very gerrymandered, and I'm sure it probably was, but this is an opportunity, and that's what I see it as. It's an opportunity to have a strong voice in Tallahassee.
And so, to be clear, you are not running against Dr. Osgood, because I knew some.
Oh, no, no, no,
You just want to be
no.
clear, because there were
Well,
some folk who were, since you're going to be coming on, she'll be coming on a little later. So just to be, so that everyone knows, it's an opportunity, and no, she's not running against Dr. Osgood.
no, that's my president. I'm a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Zeta Rho Omega chapter. And I have an ally here in Judge Alona Holmes, so I'm not going to talk about that angry pink she wears. But
Well, be careful, because you also have Sonia Burrows and Jasmine Shirley.
oh
So
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But she and I go back. And actually, I had a Delta swear me in every single time, and that was her. She
Okay.
swore me in every single time that I got sworn into office because I didn't want anybody else.
Okay.
And you'll be swearing me in for Senate, I assume, right? Okay.
So
Just
we
making sure
just
you make that travel.
we just want to make sure that everyone was clear, because there was at one point another African American woman, not you, who was originally going to be challenging Dr. Osgood for that seat. She has since decided to return to her old seat, so that's not a thing anymore. So it's a new district, and there is no incumbent, and you have plenty of experience. This isn't your first time in leadership.
No.
To be honest, I have never seen your opponent at anything in our community. I've probably only been in the same space with her when I go to Tallahassee for different events that we may be holding. If I went to a delegation meeting, I may have seen her from a distance, but I have not had the opportunity to actually see her at any event. So this would certainly have been the first for me had she valued this opportunity. So I'll just say that. So I was just left an event over with the public defender's office regarding ex-offenders and their ability to and I said to May Smith, you must have joined late. Her office did not respond to us at all, neither phone call nor email. So we have done our due diligence in allowing that to happen there. The opportunity, that is. So if folk want your vote, they come and ask, and perhaps she You know, sometimes when people are not battle tested, you know, they feel a certain way about that. If you walked in all the time, and quite frankly, money usually scares people off. You know, money is important in politics, so you know, that's that. That's my thought, that we were not important enough to respond to, or to come and say, I'm asking for your vote. So you know, but I appreciate that, because then you get to see who people really are. So you know, there's pluses in that. Voter suppression. SB 90, alive and well.
Yeah.
524, alive and well, for now. Are there concerns that you might have for the August primary, when it comes to our ability to cast our ballots for the candidate of our choice?
Yes.
If
Yes,
you'll share some of
absolutely. So
those.
let me just say this to you. What we experienced when I ran for Congress just last year was that they passed these bills and they purged people's absentee ballot requests. And many people don't know that their absentee ballot requests have been purged. So the one thing that I think hurts us is because we use absentee and vote by mail ballots more than any other community, Black and brown people do. Okay. And so what we need to do is make sure that people know that they need to check their absentee ballot status. We need to also let people know when they need to register to vote. It's a lot of people out there, and we found this out on our petition drive. I was collecting signatures from people that swore to me up and down that they could vote. And we had about 300 people that I collected signatures from that were not even registered, and they thought they were. So we went back and we went back and told those people that they need to register to vote. I think that one of the most pressing things that keeps us from voting is not even knowing that elections are going on, and knowing how much these types of elections affect us. People look at the presidential election and they'll go out in a minute and vote for that. But when it comes to local elections, they're like, oh, that's not going to affect me. But local elections affect you even more. It's just like I said, with the funding of public schools, you know, the long-term care for seniors. I mean, even down to policing. We talked about standardized policing. We can work on standardized policing policies. We need to get a bill. We need to get it in committee. We need to work through the issues. We need to get police to understand that they can't just use force when they feel like using it.
And
So
think,
we,
and just
yeah,
so you, since you mentioned policing,
yeah.
I just asked the supervisor of elections, do they get a better understanding or a clue regarding DeSantis' police force that he has now gotten passed? And what he shared with me was that the new, you know, we had a new secretary, and he is certainly extreme and the opposite of Secretary Lee. One of his first visit was to Miami-Dade and then on to Broward. The conversation went well until the questions came about the responsibilities and the duties of DeSantis' new police department. And so it's going to be interesting. And we know there'll be plenty of them in Broward County.
Uh-huh.
And so, and he was told that the discussion regarding their duties and perhaps the expansion of their duties will go to the legislature when they reconvene. And he was saying next year, but actually you meet long before then. So what are your thoughts on your understanding thus far of what they've published of DeSantis' new election police force that he has?
I think that that's an intimidation tactic. I think it is meant to make sure that people don't go to the polls that look like us. And I also think that it's, I think that that's going to be a big problem because, when you're talking about people being at the polls and handing out literature and having freedom of speech and being able to express their support for their candidate, I think that that's going to interfere with that. So I don't see anything that they've put forth that really supports our community. And so I guess we'd have to hold out and wait for them to release the final on that. I think
Will
one
you
of
be
the,
a strong voice for us, Dr. Sharif, when
absolutely
it
I
comes to
will.
fighting against these voter suppression bills?
Absolutely. And I'm also going to introduce one other, and that is to get rid of cash bail. We have a cash bail system that favors locking up Black and brown people without representation at the bail hearing. And I think what we need to do is put and implement a law to make sure that we allow for representation at bail hearings and do away with cash bail
Okay.
for people that we can do away with it on.
And HB1 had to do with the anti-protest bill. As you know, NAACP and others are in court as we continue to battle for our right to free speech. The problem had to do with us being able to demonstrate. And even if you decided that we were just walking down peacefully, as we've done in the past, organized and being about the business, if someone who's an outsider yells out or throws a bottle or pushes someone, even though it's not the marchers, those of us who were demonstrating or walking could be charged with a felony. And so, as for now, it's on hold. But we are certainly going to need a strong voice as we continue to battle this in court, and so it doesn't get any worse. Is that person you, Dr. Barbara Sharif?
Yes, that is. I'll be right there with you, and I'll be in the street with you too. I mean, I can't imagine how they're screaming about the insurrection was them expressing their free speech, and yet they want to stymie us from walking down the street in our area. We weren't storming the Capitol. We having a peaceful protest in the street. And so I think that there is a real disparity in terms of the way that they implement their laws and the way that they practice. And so, yes, I will be at the end of the table fighting for us. Yes.
So that would be about working. Dr. Osgood is on. If you're on, Dr. Osgood, turn your camera on. She has this thing she always tells me, pretty works. So you'll see her in the streets with us, which she has been. Dr. Osgood, are you, because she was commuting back from an event, are you able to sign on, to turn your camera on? Okay. She must not be there yet. And so we really, you mentioned public education.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was told recently that BTU did a series of interviews, and they were talking about the stance on where were you on public education, or where were they on the candidates on charter schools. So go back and tell us a little bit about your stance on public school and how Broward County, as you know, has been targeted because our district, led by then Chair Dr. Osgood, stood up against y'all's governor when it came to our children and their safety.
So I think for a long time, we have suffered with things being implemented in our community that don't necessarily support our children getting a proper education. One is decrease in public funding. We have an increase in population growth and an increase in the number of children going to public schools right now, yet the public schools are not being funded at the levels that they should be. And that goes down to them having to cut extracurricular activities and programming. I could remember going to school and I had Health Occupation Students of America Club. We had, piano, we had a chorus, we had all kinds of extracurricular activities and electives that we could take in school that would further mold us into the people that we are today. And those things have been cut. Standardized testing have not been done away with, even though it's been proven that Black and brown students do not do well on standardized testing because they're not written for us. There's nothing standard about them. The teachers in the schools spend all their time teaching what's on the standardized test versus getting kids caught up in their grade levels and doing what they need to do. And we are perpetuating that because at the state, we keep on pushing that down their throats. Giving schools A, B, C, and D, and F grades mean that the teachers are constantly under the gun and the school grades are being used to penalize teachers. That's why we have a deficit when it comes to getting educators, because teachers don't want to work under that pressure. So we have a shortage, and we're using a lot of substitute teachers, and we need to do better. We need to do better on the pay. So all of that goes back to funding public schools properly. And so my position is that I had a public school education, and from that public school education, I was able to go to RN school, get an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, AAPRN, and a doctor's in nursing practice. But most people don't have that opportunity now, and most of our kids don't. So I think we have to change that.
So you would certainly have been supportive and a very loud voice had you been in Tallahassee when they were attacking our Broward County School Board. Our teachers were not supported. Had you been there, you would have been a strong voice for us. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, I would have been, and I was then as an elected official here in Broward County. I did do everything that they asked me to do, which is write letters, go to Tallahassee, speak to my representatives, and make the rounds and try to let them understand how important it was to protect our children. And I stand with Dr. Osgood then, and I would stand with Dr. Osgood again in Tallahassee. Yes.
One of the other, going back to voter and GOTV effort, one of the other things the supervisor of elections shared that voter registration is down across the board. And I said, well, what do you attribute that to? And he said, one of the things is there have been, with the pandemic happening, a lot of people have been forced to move for various reasons. As you are aware, I'm sure if the supervisor of elections sends you a piece of mail or something, you don't respond, they move you to the inactive list. So part of those 300 people, many of them may have been on the inactive list. And so what will you do as you move along to encourage folk to both register, to get registered to know that they're not, and then to go in and vote?
So part of what I had proposed was that we take some of our budgets that we are funding the supervisor of elections office with, and have them to do public service announcements and community outreach to on the television to let people know when they need to, where they can check their voter registration, when an election is coming up. And I also feel that if you're going to purge people from the voter rolls, then you have to be fair and allow for same-day voter registration. And it is possible to do it without fraud, like the Republicans said. It is possible to do this without fraud. I know everybody's always screaming on our side about fraud when we talk about same-day voter registration, but you can do same-day voter registration, and you can allow people to request absentee ballots as long as they understand that if they request it after the mail-in time, they would just have to walk it in. But I think that we are limiting too much. And so that's what I would do. Invest in public service announcement, give the supervisor of elections partial budget for that, and a budget for that. And then make sure that we allow for a bill and a law for same-day voter registration, and extend the absentee or vote by mail ballot request period.
Thank you. And don't go anywhere, Dr. Sharif. And so now we have our own Dr. Rosalind Osgood, who has joined us. She is the current sitting senator. I see you have some company there. Dr. Osgood is multitasking, by the way, but she was not going to let this day pass without coming on and certainly greet her constituents, and certainly the NAACP, is of which she is one. I want to say that I did send the same email to Dr. Osgood's opponent. I did, in addition to the email, I reached out to him myself on yesterday. He answered the phone, said he was at the park dropping off his kid, and he said that he would email me his response. I said, I understand. And so I've yet to receive that email, but you don't see him on here. So, you know, that's his loss. We invite people, whether they choose to come and ask for your vote, that's up to them. And with that, let us go to Dr. Rosalind Osgood, our current senator and candidate for Senate District 32. Dr. Osgood.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening to my NAACP family. I'm sorry about the background noise. we had a host of community members that hosted a fundraiser down at the Matchbox, a Black-owned business down on Las Olas that you really need to check out. But we didn't want to miss this opportunity to thank the NAACP for all the great work that it does and to thank each of you. In January and March, you showed up at the polls and you trusted me with your vote. And I'm asking you to do it again in November. We don't have a primary election, but we have a general election. And I need you to go out and vote. And I need you to encourage at least 5 other people to go out and vote. Myself and my sidekick, Representative Campbell. Representative Campbell will be on the ballot in August. But we want to continue to work hard for our community in a grassroots way where we serve with you and we serve you and not lord over you. So I'm very excited about the opportunity that you've given me. And I want to continue to be your voice in Tallahassee. And as we continue to build our community and build coalitions with groups like the NAACP, we have to work together. I'm going to tell you now to start saving and planning for a trip to Tallahassee. People in Tallahassee need to not just see me and Rep. Campbell, but they need to see you also. They need to look in the faces of the Broward County community, which I believe is one of the best communities in the whole wide world. It's my community. And I just love you so much. And I'm just so humbled and grateful for the opportunity you gave me to serve 9 years on the school board, and now the opportunity that you're giving me to be your voice in the state Senate.
Thank you, Doc. We were talking about, I was sharing with Dr. Sharif earlier that I just spoke to the supervisor of elections, and he says that voter registration is down. He attributes that to people having to be moved because of COVID, not updating their address. In any case, the numbers are down. What do you think, what will you be doing and what would you do differently now in order to get that done? Because we need to have, if we're not voting, then we're in trouble. We'll have people who get there on election day and say, I've been disenfranchised because I'm at my polling place, but polling place are loose. So what do you suggest? So what would you do in order to encourage our community to both register and vote?
President Ellison, we have a freight train going by here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we have to understand that if we want change, we have to vote. If we want our light bills reduced, the high homeowners insurance, that power is in our hands. When we elect the right people in office, then our issues are taken care of. So Representative Campbell and myself at 3 p.m. on this Saturday will host a roller rally at Praise Lounge on Pine Island Road. We will have free food from 3 to 4, but we want you to come out and talk to us about voting. And we want to encourage you and help you register to vote as well.
Thank you. And so we have an opportunity. We can't keep blaming folk for us not being able to vote. There's an opportunity. There was a workshop today that the Public Defender's Office is helping those returning citizens, those ex-offenders that have been saddled with all these fees, an opportunity to go through our courts and have that have those fees eliminated through a process that he has worked with the Chief Judge, with the assistance of Judge Holmes, to get that in place. Not all returning citizens are ineligible to vote. If you didn't kill anybody and didn't get getting convicted of a sex crime, and you don't owe any fees, not on papers, no parole, no probation, then more than likely you are eligible to vote. So we need folk to register and then vote. I did make it clear, Dr. Osgood, that Dr. Sharif is not running against you, even though y'all both wearing green today. You all are not in the same race, not in the same district. Tell us, Doc. Well, I know there was some changes to your district. What cities make up District 32?
Thank you. So in the redistricting, unfortunately, Pompano was taken out of the district now. So the new district is Lauderhill, Lauderdale Lakes, Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise, Plantation, Tamarack, and I think a small part of Davie. It's a little sliver of Davie. So it's more of an east-west district now instead of a north-south district. It went from being 51% Black to being 41% Black. But we're encouraged. We have been representing the people in Sunrise and Tamarack and Plantation for 9 years on the school board. And we know that our county is diversifying. So we are excited, but we need you to get out and vote. And we need you to understand how serious it is. We have a large number of senior citizens in our community. And we need people in office that's going to give attention to the senior citizens, not push them aside, not, people that are going to fight for their needs because they are living longer and we want them to live and be comfortable.
And so a question came up to both of you. We'll go Dr. Sharif. What will you do if you're elected to this office of Senate to help the veterans?
I think that we have to have greater conversations with the veterans. There's a lodge right there on Sistrunk that I spend a lot of time with. And I think that it is a crime the way that our nation treat our veterans. Representative Campbell and I were at the return from the trip to DC this year with a lot of the veterans and listening at their needs and their concerns. I think that we will have some listening parties to identify some specific needs that we can champion on their behalf. And we want to thank all of our veterans for their time that they put in the service, for the sacrifice that they made, and give some attention to our veterans, and especially our female veterans. A lot of times we leave them out of the conversations. Their needs are a little different than our male veterans. So I'm looking forward to working with other senators to identify legislation like they won't have such a hard time getting the medical care that they need or accessing their benefits. Like there's a Veterans Administration and they have resources available, but they don't do anything to market it or communicate that information to people in our community that they know what services are available. So my staff is working right now. We have a couple of interns to identify those different organizations in the state that have resources that are available, where we get reports in the Senate saying that the resources are not being used or they're not needed, but it's really that nobody knows about them or how to access them. So give us a couple of months and you'll start seeing us roll out some different communications that will allow you to get that information. If you have not already, email me at osgood.rosalind@flsenate.gov so that we can put your email address in our database so that you can get those frequent communications from our offices about resources and things that are available. And Madam President, we will certainly be sharing those resources with you. And thank you for always being a vehicle that help us get information and needed services and things like that out to our community.
Thank you. Dr. Sharif, if you are elected, you'd be working with Dr. Osgood. What is your take on? I don't know if you all had some services over at the county. Is there anything that you can share that you would do for the veterans?
Absolutely. So as mayor of the county and as commissioner, I proffered an idea through the Department of Economic Opportunity. I wrote a white paper for veterans and family health services clinics to be an extension of the VA. Veterans in our community complain of not being able to access care quick enough when they need it. There's screening procedures that are they're not able to get for 3 months or 4 months after they're ordered. And so what I think we need to do is invest in our veteran services. And so I wrote a white paper to make sure that we had veterans and family services health clinics. And then as far as the idea, my brother served 2 terms in Iraq and Afghanistan, and told me that when he came back here, he had the worst experience in getting access to care. And that was what made me take up that torch as a county commissioner. I would love to continue to work with Senator Osgood because I think we share lots of ideas about moving our community forward. I think we can be a force together up there in the Senate. And I'm looking so forward to being able to work side by side with her to solve some of these issues. But yes, access to care, timely appointments, and we need to extend that through a one-stop clinic. And in my white paper, I talked about mental health services, a child care clinic facility being on site so that when they have extended mental health visits, that they can have someone look after their children so they wouldn't have to be rushing out of their appointments. A one-stop pharmacy on site for veterans that are disabled and can't get around or that need help. And then primary care help and help for women. And if it has a women's health clinic component to it. And I think it's very doable because with the money that we spend with veterans ending up in our emergency rooms and critical care centers for things that we can prevent and get them services for, we can have a cost savings by taking that money and creating extended clinics for them. And so that's what I would plan on advocating for.
Thank you. Let me go back to Ms. Gooden-Thompson. Did you have another question, Ms. Gooden-Thompson? Okay, you'll need to unmute.
Sorry. This is for Dr. Osgood.
Yes.
Since you have been elected and you're running for your own seat, this is the same seat. So what would you say your greatest accomplishment has been since you've been in Tallahassee?
Oh, thank you for that question. So during my second special session, I showed up with an amendment. It caught everybody off guard because you don't do that in the second special session. But they were not being favorable toward the homeowners with the homeowners insurance bill. So I thought I would file an amendment to ask them to cap the homeowners premium by 5%. It didn't pass, but it kind of caught everybody off guard that someone would show up to their second legislative session and they would have an amendment. Another thing that I've been able to do is build relationships. You know, a lot of people in the Senate share the same religion as me. So it makes it easier for me to connect with my brothers and sisters and communicate with them across racial lines. So it has been wonderful. I can just tell you, I was so proud to walk into the Senate to represent Broward County, that you guys had given me that opportunity. It brought my heart a lot of joy, but it also made me understand the seriousness of this time. So I felt that the accomplishment was doing that amendment and getting your vote to have this opportunity.
Thank you, and I hope everyone was listening and will support you as well.
Thank you. We want to, and so it's important that both of you maintain a close relationship with the community. I was able to, and I'll use my good friend, Representative Bobby DuBose, as an example. During HB1 and SB 90, we had weekly phone calls as the bill began to move through different committees. And as it changed, he would have staff document those changes and send it out so then we could then share with our constituency and also share with our legal counsel as we move, because we knew that there was going to be a need and a must to bring litigation. Is your commitment there the same so that the community will be able to reach both of you? And by the way, let me just tell you, I don't do intermediaries. Those of you that know me, I'm sure that that your aides are very nice, and I'm sure that they're very capable. But that just to tell somebody that what I need to doesn't really work for me. I do reach out to Representative Campbell's himself. I don't reach out to his office. That's a lie. If I need something, I would just reach out to him. I do the same thing. So do we have the same commitment that we certainly would have that same level of reach to discuss issues once the bill is, you see that it's coming into fruition, and then they'll work through each one? We'll start with Dr. Osgood.
Certainly, Madam President. That was the way that I operated on the school board. I always am available, and I will oftentimes initiate the call to call an individual or an organization that I feel have experience or expertise that can help me in my decision making. I believe that that's the only way you can be effective as a policymaker, that you're communicating. And I want to take this time to thank you in the NAACP and Judge Holmes for your support during the mask mandate. Immediately, you were able to get me on Zooms with lawyers across the nation that helped me as the chair of the school board understand that we were not breaking the law when we were being told that we were. And it was our relationship and our connection that allowed us to lead in that space in a way that we protected thousands and thousands of boys and girls and people that work in our schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sharif? You're muted.
So I have the same cell phone number that I had since cell phones became a thing. So 954-292-9449, that has been my cell phone number for 30 years. That's why I get about 100 of those scam calls a day. But that's my personal cell phone number, and it's been on the side of my van, on the side of my truck for years. And I think that transparency and accessibility is key. And so please feel free to call me on my cell.
And let me see that. So, Dr. Osgood, will you give us, say, your top 3 priorities as you go into the new session that you will be acting upon?
Madam President, I can give you 2. One is going to be human trafficking that's taking place in a non-traditional way, where children are being picked up after school and taken to do sex work and go home like it's a part-time job. The second one is going to be the elderly. And my office is going to begin to do a series of listening parties throughout the month of August and September to identify the other issues. We want to hear from the community. We don't want to drive all from our perspective. We want to have those listening parties across the community and see what the community is saying our priorities should be.
Thank you. Dr. Sharif?
Thank you. Well, I had a long list, and I had to ask another senator if there was a limit on how many committees and subcommittees I could serve on, so that let me start with my list. So I want to be on healthcare appropriations because I want to make sure that I fund outpatient services for Medicaid managed care better. I want to make sure that on the health subcommittee, so that I could make sure that long-term care gets public service announcement funds, so that seniors will know that they don't have to go bankrupt to be in a memory care facility or get long-term care. And then I want to be on a public safety committee, so that I can make sure that I implement my gun safety initiatives and also my public policy on good policing and equal application of the law. And those would be my top 3 priorities. I have a few others, like funding public schools fully. And I know that I'll be standing with my sister, Dr. Rosalind Osgood, on that. Doing away with standardized testing, decreasing class size, and protecting teacher pay. I think that if we do that, we can improve our community and their opportunities greatly. And then finally, if they let me continue to talk, I'll go ahead and I'll get on to the minority business and entrepreneurship, onto the minority business access to capital, because I think that I want to make sure that I would put forth an effort to make sure that minorities have proper access to capital to grow businesses and create jobs. And I think that would take me through my first session and more.
Dr. Osgood, before you got on, I shared that when I spoke to the supervisor of elections earlier today, he mentioned that the duties of the new election police, DeSantis' army, was going to be a subject at the top of the agenda as you'll go into session. Looking to expand or allow actually duties now whatever they have outlined now of that elections police. Tell me what will be your position as you go in to discuss DeSantis' new army that they have allowed him to have.
Well, first of all, Governor DeSantis is trying to criminalize everything. And we have to stay woke and understand it. Even with the garbage with our teachers in school, if they say something to make somebody uncomfortable, they can be sued. We don't need an election police for voting. In 2020, the governor said we had the model state for voting. We haven't been able to find what precincts where fraud and crimes were committed. They don't exist. So I am in great position of that whole idea, all the money that's being spent for him to appoint the Secretary of State, and then she appoints the new CEO of the election police. We ask questions and we've been trying to get information to see how they're going to function. Will they wear uniforms? Will they show up at the polls? What will be their role? You know, in our community, like the police officers out at the polls. I think that Broward County Sheriff's Office and different municipalities do a good job. If there's something going on at the polls that they need to deal with, they're called, they go out there and address the issue, and they go away. So I think this is all a tactic to suppress our vote, to intimidate us, to try to put us in jail, to say that our signatures don't match. I think that if we don't begin to be aggressive in our advocacy against this whole movement, it's only going to get worse for us. So I just think the whole thing is bogus because there's no data to tell us that we need it. As a matter of fact, the only place that I've been able to see in data where there was voting fraud was in the villages. So we should have just dealt with that. It's not in our communities. It's not happening. Our people are turning out at the polls and we're voting with integrity and we're choosing the people that we want to elect. And when you look at the data of the African Americans in Broward County and how our voting block and how we've increased our voting somewhere near the tune of 35–40% from 2008 to now, it's an issue for some people. So they're putting all these police and criminal things in place to come after us to suppress our vote. So I will be a strong voice and a strong advocate against this delusionary police force that needed. We could take that money and pay our teachers more. We could take that money and provide greater mental health. We could take that money and put it on the streets and give it to people that they can pay down this homeowners insurance that we have. Or we can give more benefits to people with all the inflation and gas prices. So I'm not for it. I haven't found one good thing about it or any data to support it.
Thank you, Doc. Let's go closer to home. And so I know that you were on the county commission, Dr. Sharif, when this morgue came on. I know that your staff made it sound pretty with the whatever they had. They said everything but morgue. They said that they had a partnership with Fort Lauderdale Police Department to put a substation there. Turns out that was a lie. They said that the school district had an agreement in place that they were going to allow students to go over to the morgue and learn, forensic science and so on and so forth. Tell me where you were, where the people of the district were not informed. I must say that the oldest trick in the book, if you want to get something your way, is to say that I spoke to the Homeowners Association, which we all know a lot of folk don't attend the Homeowners Association. And so they were, if you got 10 people there, you're doing really well. Where were you on the morgue that was to be built in the northwest section of Fort Lauderdale?
So that's a great question. So first of all, let me just start by saying that as a county commissioner, when things are presented to us by staff and they say that they've gone out into community and that the community wants it, if it ain't your district and you haven't directly heard from people in that community, you will think that that is the truth. And with the morgue situation, what happened is the county commissioners thought that there was this great education campaign going on. We received a long piece of paper with all that stuff listed and more. They were going to make a bus stop there. It was going to be an education center for kids after school. And so it sounded great. And they said the community wanted it because it was a blighted community and it was going to add to the property values. Well, that couldn't have been further from the truth. Now, what was interesting about that is the only reason that I found out that we were not voting the right way is because I saw you and Judge Holmes on the end of the street. If you recall that day, you all were registering voters. And I stopped by my truck and said hi. And a man approached me who is a member of that homeowners association and said to me, listen, do you see that sign right there? They're saying that they're building a morgue in our community. And we didn't know anything about it. He said, it's dust, it's next to our kids' school. And he started talking to me about that. I brought his complaint back to the county. Now, mind you, I'm District 8, so I'm in South County. That was District 9. I had no idea about it. And once he started talking and I started speaking to others in the community, we brought that item back on the agenda and we stopped it from happening. And that was one of the last things that I did before I left the county commission, was vote against that. I mean, yeah, they put a real pretty spin on it. And there was a lot of things on that piece of paper that sound like it was going to be a benefit to our community, which probably 75% of it was not true. And I don't know who made that piece of paper that floated around, but boy, was it deceptive. And so I was a no vote after I was educated by the community that they had no idea about it. And I would always, like I said, make sure that if I'm voting on anything like that in the future, that I really double check what it is that staff is saying, because none of that education had taken place. None of that community involvement had taken place. And we've had, and don't get me wrong, you can vote no and stuff still pass. And we have had numerous issues like that, where we had 800 or 900 people come out and say they didn't want something and it still passed. So I just say that I would be a voice for the people and I'd vote no if it ever came up.
Thank you. Dr. Osgood, I know that the word was out that you and all the electeds were all in support of the morgue and against the people in that community. Your school was named, your district was named as a partner on this lovely fake false information having slick slides that they had going on there. And so tell us, was there an agreement with the district, one of your schools, to partner with, and I understand you are not in that seat now, but you are still a stakeholder, and the people in this community want to know, what was your stance as far as the morgue coming to a school in our coming to our community?
Well, the school board sold that property to the county without any conversations about what the county would do with it. Once we sold it to the county, it was no longer our property. I would never allow them to put another toxic environmental hazard in our community. I have family members that live over there. They just redid what we call the gov, those of us that are homegrown. We don't want dead bodies next to our schools. We don't want chemicals to treat dead bodies in our communities. It was a total lie by the person that was leading that initiative. You can go look at school board meetings. You can pull documents. The school board never signed an agreement for any type of education program. All of the nursing programs and things that we need for students is already taking place at Arthur Ashe. They have some wonderful programs there. So it was absolutely not true. And that's why you saw me weighing in so heavily, protesting along with our Representative Campbell, former Representative Bobby DuBose, and others. We were out with all of the homeowners associations. Representative Campbell and myself have continued to meet, as well as you, Madam President, with those homeowners associations, because we know in November, we're gonna have to stand up and fight this again. So let me tell you what they did. So someone from the county contacted a principal at one of the schools and said, if we do this, do you think it would be something that we can get kids over to intern? They called a staff person on the state level and talked about it as well. Well, the staff person that they interact with said that it was a good idea and a good concept, but that does not mean that the board or state elected officials are in agreement with it, because we never got an opportunity to vote or even had a meeting. Normally, if I'm doing something in a certain area, I'm going to talk to the city commissioner, the state representative, the senator. We're going to have a conversation about what is going on, to see where they are on the issue, to also see what they're hearing from the community. We normally work collaboratively on those things. And I can tell you that did not happen. Whatever elected official that was on the county commission leading that project never had a conversation with Dr. Osgood or any other school board members, because I went back and asked them about that more. I would have been all over it. I found out by Miss Christine Jones, who knew me when I was in my mother's womb, calling me and asking me if I had lost my cotton picking mind, that I would be supporting something like that in the community. And I told her absolutely not. So we did not know about it. And that's why we came out very strong. The school board does not control a piece of property once they sell it. And if the school board in the county is entering into a partnership, it has to be a form of vote, a memorandum of understanding between the two organizations. It's not something that the staff can handle without, first of all, the vision or the direction coming from the board or the superintendent. And neither myself nor any board member or any superintendent in Broward County Schools was involved with that initiative.
Thank you. And with that, I want to offer you an opportunity to give a closing statement. And at the end of your closing statement, I want you to say again how somebody could contact your campaigns, phone numbers, emails. I know, Dr. Sharif, you're self-funded, but if somebody wanted to give some support, tell us the best way to do that. We'll start with Dr. Sharif.
So first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to all the NAACP members for being on here tonight. I know you could be doing a lot of things besides listening to us, and I'm thanking you because I think you can tell other people to go out and get out and vote. You can contact, I have been self-funding, but I would love the opportunity to have support from my community. And so you can do that by going to www.Sharif for Florida, that's SHARIF for Florida.com, or calling 954-743-9240. And I wanted to address one other thing. You did a great job of squashing the rumors, but there's one more floating around about me, and that is that I voted against Juneteenth. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to jump off of something, because I was Dale Holness's second to his motion, but our motion failed and we were outvoted. And that is why that didn't pass. There was me, Dale Holness, and Michael Udine that voted to make Juneteenth a holiday in Broward County. And sadly enough, 6 other people did vote against us and proffered a substitute motion, which passed, and we voted against that. So one thing I don't need to do is have a black contest. My mama is from Marianna, Florida. My daddy's from Alabama, Montgomery. And so I know the Black struggle. So I thank you for the opportunity and the time, and I appreciate this.
And tell us again who voted for Juneteenth.
Myself, Dale Holness, and Michael Udine.
Alrighty then. Thank you so much, Dr. Osgood.
Thank you again, Madam President, and thank you to the amazing Broward County community. I love you, and I am just so proud to be a product of Broward County, to all the information that you share in your various capacities, all the value that you add to my life. I just appreciate this opportunity to learn, to grow, and to serve you. It is humbling to serve as your school board member for 9 years and for your senator and as your senator. But you know, as we look back, we started out really rough with 12 F schools, and we were able to turn them around. And I'll just say simply, Broward County, together we do great things. Let's continue to do great things. In this new leadership position, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna learn. We're gonna laugh. Sometimes we're not gonna agree, but we're gonna have the tough conversations. And together, collectively, we will move our community forward. Your donations are appreciated. Any amount is appreciated. I'll take the $1, the $5, the $20, and I'll take the $1,000 contributions. I dropped my link in the chat. I also put my cell phone in there as well. And I will just give this disclaimer. I'm a millennial born in the wrong generation. So I do text. I like text messages. Reach out to me on social media. I'm on Facebook for those of you that are 45 and older. I'm on Instagram for those of you that are in between 35 and 40. And for the rest of us young people, I'm on Snapchat, Clubhouse, and the other things that we use. So let's continue to talk and have conversation so that we can know what your concerns are, what your suggestions and ideas are. As an elected official, I'm only as strong as you make me. If you have an issue of concern and I'm not aware of it, then I'm not empowered to help you come up with a solution or get you the resources that you need. So I love you and I thank you so much for this opportunity to serve you. And please go out and vote and tell at least 5 other people to vote as well.
Thank you. And speaking of partners, let us hear a final thought from the Unstoppable chapter of Upsilon Xi Omega, Mrs. Edith Gooden Thompson. You're muted, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting me to participate this evening. I have enjoyed hearing from the 2 candidates and Dr. Osgood. Yay for District 9. And the city of Plantation. So thank you for being so honest with us this evening about your goals and the things that you would like to achieve. And I will be a cheerleader, and so will the rest of my chapter members for both of you, because Black women are powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Black women are supreme. Now that's no joke there. Before we go, I want to ask Jasmine Shirley to give us a quick update on COVID. As we know, COVID has not gone. People are still being affected every day. Jazz, if you'll give us an update on vax information.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and it is my pleasure and my honor to give this report. Yes, indeed, COVID is still with us and it has not gone anywhere. We urge and encourage everyone to get vaccinated. Don't wait, just vaccinate. We encourage those who have been vaccinated, who have been boosted, who may have gotten their second booster. We urge you to not let down your guard with the mitigation strategies that you've always done, wearing your mask, watching your distance, washing your hands at all times. Please continue that. We can't let your guard down because there can be relapses, meaning you can be re-exposed and infected again with more than likely another one of the variants that are out there from the Omicron. By having your vaccination and or your booster, that gives you the one-up in your fight for a second go-round with that disease, because more than likely, you will not have severe illness, hospitalization, and or death. So we do encourage everyone, vaccinated and non-vaccinated, to still keep up with your 3 W's. Watch your distance, wash your hands, and above all, wear your masks, especially if you're in an inside setting, public setting, crowded area, wear your masks. Wash your hands often. And watch your distance. Those are the 3 things that help us to give us some kind of fight and additional protective measures so that in case we are exposed to anyone out there that is carrying the virus, maybe unknowingly spreading the virus, you have your protection. You not only protect yourself, but you protect your loved ones and you protect your community. It's our responsibility. So don't wait, get vaccinated. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. And just so you know, shout out to, I see Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity on here. I see Margate Democratic Club. I see the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. I see Faith in Florida. I see some of my counterparts from other parts of the state, Mr. James Minus, who is from South Brevard. Certainly, Dr. Osgood, say hello to Elizabeth Jackson. We see FAMU Alumni Association that's on here. I certainly I see Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I see a number of our community activists on here are simply waiting to get the information. I can tell you that people call our office all the time. And yes, I am so sorry. I see the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated Fort Lauderdale chapter absolutely on here. My apologies, Rep Campbell. You know, and see, I could tell y'all that I saw an iota, but y'all wouldn't believe me. But I will happen. I know that iota has actually stepped up. Thank you so much as we continue to move forward with the struggle. And those of you who are not members, we're asking you to join. The only thing that's missing from this movement is you. And with that, we are going to ask our own Minister Bridget Edwards. Minister Edwards wears that pink and green as well, Dr. Sharif, as she goes around there. Dr. Sharif, and you've met somebody else, and you have another friend there. We'll go on with our closing prayer. Minister Bridget Edwards, New Hope Baptist Church, and our religious affairs. If you be so kind, Minister Edwards.
Thank you, Madam President. Let us go to the throne of grace. Eternal God and Father, we're grateful tonight for what you have allowed our eyes to see and our ears to hear. Now, God, we're grateful for hope. For hope is the power that gives a person the confidence to step out and try. And tonight, God, as these two worthy God, they are worthy, Lord, of our votes as they have presented themselves to be viable candidates as they run for office. I pray, Lord, that you would allow them to run with dignity, to serve with integrity. And God, we ask that you would continue to be the wind beneath our wind. Blow upon the NAACP, the Divine Nine, and the entire Black community as we come together in collective consciousness to wake up the Black vote. We ask it all in thy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Don't let me get Tom Raines and the Prince Hall Masons. I'll never live it down. And also Golden Victor number 44 also on this evening. And with that, thank you all for joining us. Have a good evening. Peace and power.
Good night.
Good night.